and welcome to Thrive Beyond Cancer Summit. Today's guest is Dr. Gabriel Cousens. I am so excited for you to be on the show today. I've been following you for a very long time. You have helped even someone I know heal from diabetes. And Dr. Cousens, of course, is a spiritual teacher. He is also an author of 12 internationally acclaimed books. He is also a therapist, a psychiatrist. He's so many amazing things.
I'm very pleased to be on this show and this transmission, and thank you for doing it.
Thank you. Thank you. So the first question I have for you today, Dr. Cousens, is how does spirituality play into our health and well-being?
There are multiple levels in which spirituality plays. But I'm going to talk at a basic level, which is key.
Okay.
It supplies meaning and purpose in life. And when people have meaning, which is making every moment sacred, that changes how they relate to their own world and to themselves, because they see themselves as sacred and as holy, and then treat their body and their emotions and their mind and their spirit as sacred and holy, and everyone else around them. And really, also ecologically, when we understand that God is in all creation, not that we worship creation as God. This is not, that's a different thing. That's pantheism. This is pantheism, seeing God in everything.
Yes.
It changes your relationship to the world and upgrades it. That stimulates healing, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual healing. So that's like a key understanding in that way. And so in a sense, I'm defining spirituality very broadly, which is relating to the world as a place of sacredness and honoring the divine in everything, including all people, which is a big deal in our world today. Yeah. So it moves us away from a negative separation to a oneness separation. So spirituality is just actively contacting the divine in all that we come across, people and animals and the living ecology, and of course ourselves.
Yeah. So with that said, how do we become spiritually imbalanced? Because I never thought about that until you said it. So I'm like, okay, how do we become spiritually imbalanced?
Well, the first step is, what does it mean to be spiritually balanced?
Yeah.
And again, fundamentally, it's having that connection with our soul. Mm-hmm. And when we start to disconnect from our soul, then we go into spiritual imbalance.
Yeah.
So it's it's not about details. It applies to everyone, no matter what religion you're part of. It's like when you're connected to your soul, you maintain balance because it connects you to the divine and the divine will. So in a simple way, when we start to lose contact with the soul, that's when we get spiritually imbalanced and really get ourselves in trouble. And that's the place where we're more susceptible to getting serious chronic illnesses, and obviously including cancer.
Yeah. Speaking of, I mentioned that you are like the expert in raw foods and plant nutrition, live plant nutrition. Can you break down for us? Because I'm sure, as you know, you've been doing this for such a long time. Can you break down for us what exactly is a raw food?
Okay, so yes, I've been doing it for about 45 years. So I have a little feeling. So there's ways to look at it. So I'm going to use the word raw and I'm going to use the word live. Mm-hmm. And it helps people make a distinction. Mm-hmm. So raw food is anything that has not been cooked, baked, boiled, or whatever. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't be warmed at less than 118 degrees Fahrenheit, because that doesn't seem to break down the enzymes at that point. Okay, and so we can use our dehydrators, and we can do things like that to warm food, but also dehydrate them. Live food is food that has not been, in essence, touched at all. So we haven't dehydrated it, we haven't blended it, we haven't done, a variety of things that don't cook it, but there's nothing in essence that has been done. You have a raw beet, you eat the raw beet. You have a raw salad, you haven't cooked it, you haven't done this or that or the other thing. So it's another step up of vitality. It has another dimension of vitality, whereas raw food has vitality as compared to cooked food.
Yeah.
But live food is a higher octave of vitality.
Wow. So what are some of the benefits of eating live foods, and some of the myths, of course?
Right. The first real important thing where people get in trouble is we have to eat according to our constitution. We actually have a genetic basis of our constitution on chromosome 19. It says how much protein, how much fat, how much carbohydrate. So the first breakdown in constitutional ways to be successful is to know whether your person needs more protein in your diet or less protein. Now, what does that mean? There is the research shows called what we call the M, capital T, capital O, capital R pathway. Now, what is that? Well, it means protein for the day at the low level would be 35 grams of protein. At the high level would be 70 grams of protein. So some people need more protein than others. And generally speaking, about 70% of the population needs a higher protein, which is at the 70, which is still low, but it's at the 70 level. And then what we call slow oxidizers need more like 35 or 40. And that's a key concept. Because what I see is people say, well, I'm doing my food and I'm doing the vegan thing, and it's mostly vegetables, which is good. But the problem is if you're not getting enough protein because of your constitution, you don't really succeed. And you want to succeed. Yeah. So my experience, based on this and one other principle, we got about a 99% success rate. But without this, the success rate drops. So obviously we have to be aware of who we are in our interface with the food. Yes. Okay. I mean, but if we don't do that, then we don't do it as well. So first concept, understand your constitution that way. Now, in Ayurvedic medicine, as you know, I work as a holistic physician, but like a spiritual holistic physician. And so I've been trained in Ayurveda and so forth, as well as homeopathy and different things. But in Ayurveda, we have 3 basic constitutions and a total of 9. But I want to talk about 3 because it's easier to get. You want to just get the concept. In my book, Conscious Eating, I discuss all the different things. So the concept is 3 main ones. One is kapha, like the elephant. People tend to be big. They have more water in their system. They're made worse by excess water. They're better with spicy food, ginger and cayenne and so forth. And that's a certain kind of diet you're going to have. So if you're going to do live food, it'll be live food spicy, live food hot.
Yes.
But it's really important, okay? Now, the another type is pitta, very fiery. They're going to have more heart things and high blood pressure issues. They need live food bland because they're already hot. You see?
Yes.
it's actually, it's just right to the point. But there's a whole profile with each one. I'm just talking about diet and it's like your food. And then the third is Vata. Now Vata is like air. So we have water and we have fire, we have air. So air goes this way and that way. It's in the wind. So people who are more Vata can get disordered if they get too extreme in any way about their diet. And they need a little bit more salt. And when I say salt, I'm talking about 82 mineral salt, like Himalayan salt and so on. Okay. And slight sweet, not in sugar. Sugar is not good. And very sugars, and glucose and fructose feed cancer cells. Cancer cells love sugar, love glucose 10 times more than normal cells, and they love fructose 10 times more than they love glucose. Wow. So I recommend people have to be zero outside sugar as a cancer prevention, as a cancer treatment, and also post-cancer. Mostly in my practice, I see mostly post-cancer people. And they say, okay, I've survived. Now, how do I not have this happen again? How do I do this? That's another question. I'm just saying that sugar is a big deal. So a little bit of sweet taste is what they need. Even xylitol, stevia gives a sweet taste. And oily is key. So it's sweet, oily foods, and I'm going to say watery foods. Because Vata is like the goat, gets dried out. And everyone with age becomes more Vata. So we have to, particularly with age, I mean like over 50, have to have more liquid in our diet to keep hydrated. Because those are the tendencies. So when you see a baby, they're kapha, they have, a lot of mucus and a lot of water, right? That's what a baby is. And then teenagers, fire, right? We got that. Fire, sex, all that. Okay. Yes. and the Vata is, we actually have to eat in a way to balance Vata with age to maintain quality. So one minimum is more water, and the second thing is more oil on your body, things like that, and more oil in your diet, because those are the two big players, that hydration and oilation, that protect you against getting too Vata. Okay, so when you understand that, you're going to orient your diet in a way that will balance that, and that's key. So those are the two key things. Then eat according to your constitution, and eat according to your Ayurvedic constitution, and it really makes a difference. Go ahead.
How do you find out what you are exactly? I mean, of course, describing the last part, I totally understand that. But is it like a test that you take to know what you are?
Well, there's a few pieces here. There is a test. I have a test in my book, Conscious Eating. It's pretty comprehensive for people. And there's pulses, but you have to work with an Ayurvedic person. But generally, in my book, Conscious Eating, and I have a test, but I also describe each one. Because you have to get a feeling for it. Test only goes so far. Yeah. And not everybody fills out the test so accurately. Yes. So, so we have two ways. And then, obviously, if you see the practitioner, they help with the pulse, and they see the overall thing. So there's three ways, but being on your own without seeing a practitioner is the test. And again, in Conscious Eating, I describe it in pretty simple ways.
Got it.
Now, once you do that and apply it to live food, you get very successful. So anyone, even an extreme Vata, I have people like 100% purebred Vata, can succeed on a live food diet if they understand the rules.
So what are some of your favorite live foods that you like personally?
I'm pretty simplistic. Okay, so I don't really have breakfast, but I have a little goji berries.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I consider that one of the main big players in terms of longevity. And then I tend to really like sprouts and mostly the leafy greens.
Nice.
And I really only eat one meal a day.
Okay.
And then I'm going to have the avocado because I need the oil. So avocado is really good on many, many, many levels, and all varieties of nuts and seeds. Now I'm a person that's doesn't need much protein. So I generally just, have the nuts and seeds, and I don't have protein supplements and so forth.
Yeah.
So that everybody's different. And what's the range? Just to give people an idea, is somewhere between 10 and 20% of your diet. So at 10% is what we call the kind of more low protein. Mm-hmm. 20% is the higher, 15 to 20% is higher. Mm. So, and that's important. And it makes a difference. I'll give you a personal example because what you need varies with age. For example, people at 45, and then the research was done in men, but I believe it applies to women too, is that if you eat too much protein in your 40s, you're going to double your rate of mortality and quadruple your rate of getting cancer. That's significant. Yeah, that's significant. Most people eating too much protein, which is going to be more than 70 grams for sure. Now, at the age of 60, 65, you actually have to increase your protein. We are able to have more protein. Now, this is a real life example, my own life. Probably was eating 8%. Just when I looked at my diet and figured out maybe 8% protein, I'm doing okay. But I'm pretty athletic. My chronological age is 75. Mm-hmm. And I was working on doing pull-ups, and I was not able to break 25, just stuck. And then I read this a few years ago, and it was like, oh, maybe I need more protein. So I took 1 tablespoon of blue-green algae, which is a protein concentrate. It could have been spirulina or chlorella, but I like blue-green algae. And I literally went in 2 weeks up to about 50 pull-ups, and after a month had hit literally 100 pull-ups. So
wow, at 75.
Yeah, but the key concept is I made one little adjustment.
The protein.
One little adjustment in protein, because with age you want to you have to increase it a little bit. We actually absorb more protein. We need more protein, not huge amounts, but a little bit, 1 tablespoon. How much is that? You see? Wow. And that's how powerful it can be.
Wow.
So these little adjustments require us to be conscious and thoughtful. Now, the mTOR pathway, which we were just talking about, mm-hmm. is key for longevity and key for anti-cancer. It's like a zone. If you're in that 35 to 70, you're going to be more protected from cancer, getting it or relapsing, and have more longevity. So that's what the research shows. So it's an important concept.
Wow. Why do you think, over the years, especially within the last 5 years, more people are starting to adopt a plant-based diet? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because we're knowing more about it? I mean, you've been doing it forever. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've been doing it since 1973. So wow. That's a funny story in itself. My wife was pregnant with our second child, and we both had this nightmare that the embryo was a chicken and we were eating it. And the next day we converted to being vegan.
Wow.
Kind of from
hard then to be vegan?
What?
Was it hard to be a vegan then?
Not with that motivation. Well, it was more in the minority, but now, yes, it was more in the minority. Mm-hmm. now there are many, many things going on. So what do we know? Well, here are the main top 4 reasons why people go vegan. Animal cruelty. Mm-hmm. It's now becoming a real issue. Mm-hmm. Okay. Health. Now, what we know is vegans do live longer. That's number 1. Mm-hmm. Vegans have 32% less heart disease. Depending how you are with vegan, you have 20% less cancer, or 13 to 20%, let's say 13% less cancer. But if it's cancer of the bowel, it's much higher if you eat meat. So there's going to be variation. You have 1/4 the amount of osteoporosis. Wow. You have 35 to 50% less type 2 diabetes. High blood pressure, 26% with meat eaters, 2% with vegans. So across the board, it's more healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, now, another thing that's coming in is environment. Okay, so the World Health Association and different European dietary agencies have all said we need to go towards vegan, not just for health, but to protect the ecology. So vegan saves literally a swimming pool, 1.5 million gallons a year of water. We have a water shortage, okay? And animal agriculture takes up 30% of the agricultural land, arable land, and it pollutes the air with the ammonia from, all that kind of thing. So there are some real issues against the ecology. So these World Health, but also general councils on, the environment are all saying you need to go vegan. Now, they don't say it so loud. They don't say, yes, you have to be vegan. But they're saying the vegan diet, the United Nations is saying it too, even back as far as 2010, that the vegan diet best, they'll say a plant source only diet, best protects the environment and protects it against environmental degradation. I think those agencies being involved at that level are shifting it, because people are saying, oh, wow, the environment, we have some issues here. We have to protect the environment. So, and the 4th motivation is historically with almost all spiritual groups is the vegan diet is what's the basic recommendation for spiritual life, because you're not taking in death to your system and you're not poisoning your body. And from a yogic point of view, you're not blocking the nadis, which are the channels where the kundalini energy goes. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get into too much detail, but there are really good spiritual reasons. So pretty much all the great traditions, Gan Eden was a vegan, so that's where we started. So, okay, it was actually live food vegan, but the point I'm making, those are probably the big 4, and I'll leave it at that. But that's why I think the shift is happening. It's becoming more popular. And I think the environmental and the health things are the 2 big things. Animal cruelty is there, but not everybody's. Well, actually, the truth is 67% of the population who have vegan cite animal cruelty as the number 1 thing. And about 54% talk about health, and about 50% talk about the environment.
Wow.
And about 47% talk about spirituality. So that's kind of the rating. So animal cruelty is still like, this is a big deal. And particularly kids, and it freaks them out a little bit. Yeah. Once they get what they're eating is a dead animal, they don't like it.
No. Even my mom has stories about that. She's like, oh my God, no, you killed my friend, the chicken in the backyard. She's like, I was completely traumatized when I was young, and we don't even think about it, It's right. Interesting.
So those are kind of what the shift is about, I think.
Yeah. Well, you've been healing people for a long time, helping people heal, and you've had your Tree of Life Center, and you're known to help people reverse their diabetes. Um, can you talk about that? I know you said that diet and nutrition, it's not like a one size fit all approach. Um, when you help people to reverse their diseases, how do you do that exactly?
Well, there are two levels. One is diet, and one is more herbal. I'll put it that way: herbals and supplements. Um, so I'm going to talk a slightly different thing, which fits into it, which is life force. Okay, so German researcher found that they measured biophotons, which is the energy we literally give off out of our system. Okay, and a person's eating a junk food diet is giving off about 1,000 biophotons. A person who is a vegan but cook food is 23,000. A newborn baby is 33,000. And a person who has primarily live food is 83,000. So it's literally 83 times more energy producing, okay, than a junk food diet. And then if you add certain herbs, longevity herbs and different things like that, you're up to 116,000. Now, the researcher is named Dr. Popp, P-O-P-P. Now, what's the point? The point is, if you need energy to heal. So the diet that's going to give you the most life force energy, because when you have an illness, you're already depleted, is going to be the live food diet. So if we just think energetically, okay, we're not talking enzymes, we're just talking energy. The live food diet significantly has the highest amount of energy. So for that reason alone, that's the number one reason I recommend. We have to bring up your life force. When your life force is strong enough, then you're going to naturally heal. That was the teachings back to the ancients, Hippocrates and so forth.
Yes.
So raise the life force. So the data on that is really, really pretty important. But I'm giving one simple point rather than a whole lecture on it, So if we think energy, it's good. Now, the other point is organic. Okay.
Yeah.
What we know is when I studied all the organic studies and so forth, and by and large, the average is that you're going to have 25% more nutrients in organic food. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, when you cook food, you lose 50% of the protein, gets coagulated, 60, 70%. Vitamins, minerals are lost, and about 95% of the phytonutrients, which are extremely important for healing. Okay? They're all lost when you cook them.
That probably explains why when I do juice or eat something that's live, I feel so much better. I have so much more energy than I do when I actually cook the food. It's interesting now when you say that.
Yeah, because when you start thinking about it like you are, it's like, oh, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And I experienced that.
Yes.
And then there's a Dr. Breckman who did research feeding mice cooked food and the same food live, and they had 2 to 3 times the more amount of endurance. You're running around the thing, you're swimming in a thing for the mice. So it's pretty well documented. Okay.
Wow.
You get more energy, which fits with what I'm saying. And we need the energy to heal. Okay. That's pretty easy. So that's the first thing is let's increase the energy. Let's go organic, because about 95 to 97% of the pesticides and herbicides are in animal tissue, according to CDC. They're not exactly a vegan organization, right?
Yeah.
But according to them, 95 to 97% of all the pesticides, herbicides, and toxins are in the animal fat. So obviously, eating lower on the food chain, you're going to minimize your toxins. Okay? Going organic, you more so minimize it. The other thing that's interesting about organic is it has a lot more polyphenols, which are very, very, very healthy. It's like something like 85% more polyphenols than non-organic food. I mean, it's maybe all the nutrients are like 25% are good, but 85% for the polyphenols. So there's a lot of reasons that you get why organic. So it's organic and live are the key concepts in a simple way and according to your constitution. You need all three principles to really, I'm going to say, have an anti-cancer effect and also a prevention of a post-cancer protection, prevention. So I don't really see people relapse when they're doing that. I mean, I'm working with people over, decades at this point, 10 years, 20 years post-cancer. And they do this, the body doesn't want to go back to cancer.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm looking at pretty good results. I haven't taken research like I did with the diabetes, which I'll talk about in a second, but it's really simple. Now, the second thing I do, I'm going to say with the most anyone, but I'll say post-cancer because that's our audience here, is I look at your nutrient deficiencies because you make it through chemotherapy, you make it through this, you make it through, you had treatments. I try to get the radiation out of the system, which we can do, okay, which is a big deal. And then the organs that have been somewhat damaged, like the adrenals don't do so well with chemotherapy, for example, right? Or your immune system.
Yeah.
So we want to build everything up. That's a really key concept. So immune, the endocrine system, the radiation. So that's part of my individualized protocol because people need an individualized protocol. It just makes common sense because we're unique individuals.
Yes.
Yeah. We have like 20, 30,000 genes, but when you start, but maybe 200,000 gene variations. So we're all different. So everything's individualized is what I'm saying. But your baseline, organic, live food, is kind of our baseline. And then we individualize it. And then I'm working to repair all the organ systems and cellular systems and build up also the mitochondria, which are the energy factories in our cells. Because once you've made it through some of these treatments, allopathic treatments in specific, you're a little wounded, but you may have knocked out the cancer, but you're a little wounded. So we put a big emphasis on repairing it. And so that's kind of the keys to, I'm going to say, the post-cancer treatment. And there are some downsides from some of the chemotherapy, and there's certain herbs that help with that. That's going to vary. So we need all that to kind of repair and then get to optimal health.
Yeah.
Now, with diabetes, it's a little different. The diet's just a little different in that we really have to, okay, so let me explain that I cite in my book, there's a cure, not reverse, cure for diabetes, meaning your blood sugar is less than 100, your fasting blood sugar, without any medication. Okay, your optimum is 70 to 85. And, well, I'm going to digress just for a second, but the research is that after kind of mid-40s, about optimum means 70 to 85, about 80% of the population is above that.
Wow.
So I pay attention, and right now my fasting blood sugar is somewhere between 83 and 85. That's your first blood sugar in the morning. And that's really important. Sugar activates cancer. I'll just put it that way. It's as simple as I can. Yes, meat activates all the different cancers, and particularly colon cancer, I think 18% greater, amount. So, but that's a big deal. And the other thing that happens with sugar is it also tends to create what we call type 3 diabetes. It's accelerated Alzheimer's. So a third type of diabetes, you get double the amount of Alzheimer's. Diabetics have double the amount of Alzheimer's. So we're very aware. And even in 3 weeks, we start to reverse all that. So it's kind of exciting.
Wow, that is.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Wow.
And people's brains come back to them. People's neurological deficits, that's 70% of people with type 2 diabetes, they go away in 3 weeks on the program. So we go all live because that's the super healing diet. Later, once they're healed of diabetes, and they're off all medications and all herbs even for diabetes, then we can go 80% live and 100% vegan. Okay, so but that's down the line. So we take that point and we go a lower sugar. So we, because some people need a little bit more. Sugar is not glucose or fructose, right? We're talking a little bit of fruit and a little bit of sweeter vegetable type thing. So we try to drop that down to maybe 20% of carbohydrate in the diet. Mm-hmm. Normally, the range, okay, because there's a range, just normal, is you need about 40% plant fat, and you need it for your brain and your nervous system, and 10 to 20% of the protein. And of the carbohydrate, I'll say up to 35%, but say 20 to 35%. And so it's a lower carbohydrate, but it varies. And some people have up to 45%, 25 to 45% natural carbohydrate, vegetables, a little bit of fruit, that kind of thing, a little grain if they want. So that's the diet for the diabetes. And then I have some special herbs, some Chinese and Ayurvedic herbs and stuff that accelerate the healing process. Mm-hmm. But for the first, and then fasting is also helpful, which is also very good for cancer, most cancers, unless you're really thin already from the cancer.
Yeah.
And post-cancer to detox.
Yeah.
So I do, water fast is a little strong for a lot of people who weaken. So I do half water, half juice. So people, I'm still, even though we're not doing all the outer programs, because I'm more doing like this, interviews and talking, which to reach more people, we still have, I'm still seeing people individually here, and also people can come for individual fast, or 2 or 3 people come together and we have supervision. We're maybe one or 2 places where there's actually a physician overlooking the fasting.
Wow, that's so awesome.
So we do that, and pretty much almost everyone is post-cancer. Again, unless they're really thin, I suggest some level of fasting to accelerate getting the toxins out. Mm-hmm. Including the chemotherapy toxins out.
Yeah.
So that gives you an overview of how that works. But it cures. The word cure is different than reverse or ameliorate. It means, hey, the blood sugar goes to normal and you don't need any medication.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's awesome. You also talk about, in regards to healing, the importance of loving ourselves. Like you've said something about how we have to love ourselves enough to want to heal. So how important is it to love ourselves, Dr. Cousens?
It's one of the most important things. If you don't really love yourself, why bother to get healed? And that's why we see a lot of people with cancer having some significant depression playing a role here. And actually, the truth is, even with diabetes, if a person has a severe depression, within 1 year, depending on the study, 62 to 82% become diabetic, just from a depressive episode.
Wow.
So the mental state is huge. And when you love yourself, you're a lot more optimistic. You have a sense of your soul. You often have a sense of meaning, which is the everyday sacredness and purpose, a goal. And so you're a lot more motivated to be alive and to heal yourself, because there's a reason to heal yourself. And that's key. When people have a purpose, they will live longer. And the research does show that people with purpose do live longer. But also it's very, very important for healing. So when you put those together, it is about loving yourself. You feel good about yourself. You want to take care of yourself. You want to nurture yourself. And our work, like in the diabetes program, is first you gotta have to connect to your soul. Okay, if you don't have that connection, it's hard to be motivated to love yourself. Okay. Mm-hmm. But when you have that soul connection, and we emphasize that we do meditating and different things that we do in the program and in general, for all the clients. And usually I like them to stay a little bit because we have regular meditations here and we teach meditation. That then nurtures you got the soul connection. When you have the soul connection, then you're loving that spark of the divine within yourself, and you really begin to love yourself. And now you're empowered, you have motivation, you have meaning. So that's why it's fundamental to real healing.
Yeah.
And that's what we emphasize, connect to your soul, connect to your spirit, and, in essence, again, loving yourself enough to want to heal yourself. It's a big motivator.
Well, in addition to that, what have you seen, like the people who are able to heal, what do they all have in common that you've seen?
Most of the people who come to me
mm-hmm.
are pretty motivated, because my approach is pretty strong.
Yeah.
Okay, you got 100% live food, and you need to do some yoga, you need to meditate, different things. It's a whole lifestyle. So loving yourself enough to heal yourself is number one, and with that high level of motivation to really work on yourself. It is work. But truth is, being healthy is work. It's good work.
Yeah.
You don't just stay healthy. You got to work on it all the time. The environment changes. You're changing. All this is going on. It's constant paying attention and constant willingness to work, to do the work you need. Yeah. Just like relationships, they need work. They're not stagnant. So it's kind of people who have that attitude are the ones that really are going to sustain. Again, the word is sustain over years. My goal isn't a 5-year thing like with cancer. It's the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So is to bring people into this sustaining kind of thinking, and sustaining in building type of thinking. The most important thing is for us to really begin to reconnect with our souls. If we look at everything that's going on the planet, we've moved so materially that soul connection that protects us and keeps us on the bigger purpose of life needs to be rebuilt and reestablished.
You can say that again. I feel that.
Yeah. So that's how I'm focusing my work. Besides the humanitarian, is that let's work on the soul purpose of making this happen.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Cousens, for this amazing interview. I really, really do appreciate it. You have no idea.
Well, it's my joy. Really. I'm so glad to get the opportunity to be able to share, these fundamental but absolutely critical ways of life that elevates us.
Oh, this is so great. Thank you all again for watching. We appreciate it, and we will see you next time on Thrive Beyond Cancer Summit.